Welcome to Extra-Tyne from Gallagher Shots. My name is Emil. This is a new thing. As soon as we can't do any fan cams this remainder of the season, we're looking to speak to some people after the game just to get a bit of a feeling of how the game went. And first and foremost, lads, I think that was just the sex, in my opinion. Newcastle won 3-0 against Sheffield United, an unexpected one. And I'm joined today by Ketch from MOTD Magazine. I've got Randall Bell from Twitter.com. We've got Lee as well, Lee Forster, who you might recognise from our fan cams. He's the guy that loses his child all of the time. And thank you very much for joining us today, guys. It's the first one of these, so as we've already said, it could go horribly wrong, but the game didn't go horribly wrong. That's 3 more points towards safety. Ketch, how would you sum that game up in one word, as we like to normally do on the cams?
Shocking.
Right.
I'm in
For
shock.
all the good reasons.
Shocking. I didn't expect it. I'm still in shock.
Still in shock. It does feel that way. I've been watching the highlights back myself. Randall, we've just been chatting beforehand there. That's the best possible start we could have got off to, right?
Yeah, massively. I wasn't expecting that at all. I said before the game, I probably settled for a draw, and I think we rode our luck massively against them last time, so anything's a bonus, really.
Yeah. Lee, Sheffield United have been the surprise package. Do you think that we've shown them up both times, or they've not turned up?
Nah, let's be honest. First game at their spot, we got away with it. We got out of jail. But today, from first 5-10 minutes, was only 1-2 minutes. Surprised me more than anything.
Yeah.
Didn't expect it.
Solid performance, I would say. Certainly one of two halves. We'll have a look through some of the key moments as we go on. But the one man that got the headlines, you might say, is Joelinton. Lee, I'll go straight in with you. What's been your view on how Joelinton will do in the return of this season?
I feel for the lad, to be honest with you. I was hoping having no fans there would sort of help him, because I think it's got to him when there's been 52,000 there, like. But I was looking at it today and I was saying to my lad, I think his language, style and the formation don't help, because he looks like he's just being passed around in triangles and what have you. He looks like he's not putting the effort in. I don't think Bruce is helping him by isolating him up top, because his centre halves just pass the ball around him and Joelinton's just jogging around. And it looked bad for the lad. I think he needs somebody up there to give him a hand. I really do.
Yeah. Ketch, I think, as I mentioned there, it was a bit of a game of two halves. We had the hit and miss for Joelinton. Do you think that not having the crowd there affected how he got on for the rest of the game after that horrendous miss?
Maybe. It's an interesting point. I mean, there is this theory that he's a training ground superstar and he's unbelievable through the week, and then when it comes to match day, it doesn't happen for him. If there had been a crowd there would have probably been a negative reaction to that chance, because he didn't even work the keeper, really, did he? And he seemed to do everything right. And if you've paid £40 million for a striker, you expect him to put that away. So potentially he might have got a bit of a negative reaction. He didn't, obviously, because there's no crowd there. I actually enjoyed his reaction to the miss. He went on and stayed positive, and I really liked his goal. He bombed into the 6-yard box and put himself into the position. Something we've criticised him for not doing. There's been balls flashing across the 6-yard box, and he's not been there. Today he was, and he's deadly from 3 yards, isn't he?
Yeah. It was about time for a lot of fans, and it was nice to see Twitter kind of moved with it. But I think today was the first time that I actually noticed a lot of fans of other teams were jumping on that and saying, it's clear to see that he's got no confidence. Randall, I don't know if you saw it at half time, but Souness made the point about him wanting to get away from the ball as soon as he got it with that miss. Do you think that it was purely his confidence that caused him to miss, or was it just the ability, or was it a little bit of a mistake the way he scuffed it?
I think it was a combination of all of them. To be honest with you, I don't know, he must be lacking in confidence a little bit, because he went on a really good run, and then just to scuff it like that, he's just not in that position enough to score it in an actual match. So I mean, as Ketch said, he's good from 3 yards, but running into the box and trying to score like that, he's obviously not got enough confidence to put that away. So which obviously showed today when he like kicked the ground instead of the ball. To be honest.
I mean, it's is the pregnancy got anything to do with this? Do you think, Randall?
Probably. I don't know. He could use that, I guess. But like I said on Twitter as well, I really want him to do well, and I think, like you've just said there, a lot of teams and a lot of people are starting to feel a bit sorry for him now, because he's had how many chances, how many minutes was it? Something like 1,000 or something.
It's been since the Tottenham game when it first came around, and I mean, I remember
that feels like seasons ago as well.
Oh man, it even with this gap, it felt like ages ago when we first went into it. But you know, someone did make a good point about him possibly being like Alma on Lee. Do you reckon that this might be a bit of a breaking of the duct?
I hope so. I mean, somebody mentioned before about his reaction. I think first 10 minutes after he had the miss, I didn't think his reaction was that good. He lost his rag, got himself booked, and you could see him on camera sort of having a go at himself for a good 4 or 5 minutes afterwards. 10 minutes after that, he seemed sort of refocus, and in the second half, he was getting himself around and what have you. And hopefully he does exactly the same as Almiron. Hopefully it's given him a little bit of confidence. You can see the relief in his face as he was coming off when he was substituted. He just needs that confidence. I think if he gets the confidence, gets a couple of goals, no crowd getting on top of him. If the crowd had been there today, he'd have gone into his shot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hands down. It's good to see, and I think the goal obviously cancels out the miss. It'll be forgotten about, but we wait for another few days, and we probably will see something again that people aren't happy with. However, you mentioned about the yellow card there. However, Joe Linton did seem to play a bit of a part in the turning point of the game, which was the red card for Egan. Ketch, do you think that the red card was the thing that did it? Do you think that was Joe Linton making a nuisance of himself? I know we've seen it with Shearer in the past. You get into the heads of the defenders, and who knows what happens.
I think it was a mistake on Egan's behalf. I think he's had handbags, got a yellow card. And then they're far too high up the pitch, and he's being turned by Joe Linton. As soon as that happens, he's in loads of trouble. As soon as he goes near him, I thought it could have been a straight red. So it's an individual error from Egan, and poor from Sheffield United. I thought they were too high up the pitch. When you look at the pace that we've got in the front three, I don't know why they were so high up the pitch, and naivety. And I think the game was petering out into a draw until that. I wouldn't have fancied us to break them down 11v11. And as soon as that happens, it does give you a lift. And when you've got pace like we have, it's going to cause problems. And Sheffield United, I think they paid for having played against Aston Villa a couple of days ago. They looked really tired and no threat at all, considering this is a club that are talking about European ambitions, Champions League. I thought it was dreadful. And they folded after the first goal went in, and then we reaped the benefit.
We're talking about that first goal there. It did come from another key moment, which was Norwood missing the ball. Saint-Maximin clinical, it seems to be the term that a lot of people are describing Newcastle's performance as. Randall, when that goal went in, I mean, we'll get on to Saint-Maximin's performance in a moment, but the goal just seemed to bring Newcastle to life, and it became a training exercise. Do you reckon that we saw the real Newcastle there?
Yeah, I think so as well. But I also think that Sheffield's confidence probably dropped a little bit after that, especially like missing an easy kind of block to lead to the first goal. To be fair to Saint-Maximin as well, though, like it was a good finish as well. Like I feel like it was at a weird angle, so the goal was really good, and I think that would have built Newcastle's confidence, but also would have lowered Sheffield's confidence.
Yeah, I think we've just lost Lee there. I don't know what happened. But, I can try and get him back in. Sorry, lads. Must have just...
I think he wasn't happy with my Joe Linton comments.
Yeah, it kicked off after that, didn't it? I'm trying to call him now, see if we can get him back in. But yeah, I mean, confidence for Sheffield United did seem to be the problem. A lot of people were saying that they didn't look like the team that they were. There he is, he's back in again. It didn't look like the team that they were before the break. Ketch, I'll just call quickly back to you. Do you think that the wheels have come off for Sheffield United as of now?
I wouldn't go that far, because I think there's some good honest players in there, and the managers. I really rate the manager. I think he's a great motivator, great tactician, very original. If you can if you can turn Chris Basham into a Premier League player, then you've got something about it. And Basham played really well. For me, it was tiredness. I think it was Ender Stevens who missed the cross and led St Maximin in for the goal. He's been great all season, and the keeper Henderson, brilliant goalkeeper. I think he'll go on to be England #1. He'll be really disappointed with himself for that goal. It's just tiredness for me. Players haven't played for so long, and they've had 2 games in a couple of days, and like I said, we took advantage of that and really put 3 past them. That's good for our table and our staff.
Yeah, it was a smash and grab moment with the goal, as we said, but St Maximin seemed to have free rein today. Lee, if you're with us and your camera comes back, if you can hear me, St Maximin today, was he really given just the freedom to just do what he likes?
There was a difference between the 2 teams for me. Clear difference between the 2 teams. Couldn't handle his pace. They couldn't. I thought looked like he'd lost a bit of timber.
Yeah.
As well, because he was quite bulky before lockdown. And I think that losing that bit of timber's done him a good bit of good, to be honest with you, because literally they couldn't. I mean, for Joe Lincoln's 1-on-1 in the first half, it all started with St Maximin in the Gallagher corner. He literally turned a couple of their attackers inside out, sort of thing, and they played the ball through to Almiron, and we broke. But the same, I thought it was fantastic. If he carries on like that, he'll tear a few arseholes for the rest of the season.
All right. Actually, I've just mentioned, by the way, if you could just pop back into landscape, if that's all right. But yeah, St Maximin was marvellous. There's a few other players which I'll get on to. But Matt Ritchie was in the team today. I did a prediction and said Lazaro might be in there. I'll go on to it later about Matt Ritchie, but I honestly think that he made a massive difference. Do you think it was a strong presence that we had him in there today, Randall?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't really notice him that much. I know that probably sounds bad, but until he scored that goal, and I think again that lifted their confidence, because that goal came out of nothing and just literally made them back off and just had a shot.
He just ran.
Yeah, and his hair looked amazing as well, which is also a bonus.
This wasn't tremendous.
Yeah.
We will get on to hair. I know I'm promising so much to come, but hair is one of the major things that I need to talk about. Ketch, we had the other goals. Obviously, Ritchie got one in there. It was a trademark thump from him. But in terms of seeing the game off, that was the moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're down to 10 men, warm day, and you go 2-0 down, I think that's a good night, to be honest. And it was almost as if their heads had gone already. And I think within themselves, they really felt the effects of the game earlier in the week. And like I say, we've taken advantage of them. It's probably not the team you want to be. You don't really want to be defending against Almiron and St Maximin when you've just had a game through the week after the best part of 2 months off. So yeah, I never like to feel comfortable watching Newcastle, but when the second goal went in, I think it was about 70 minutes. Then yeah, I felt confident we'd get the 3.
Yeah, it was a great moment. I think that was the bit on Twitter where it just sent everyone into pandemonium, and I thought this is brilliant. And I think that goal meant safety for me. That goal was the one where I thought that's it. That is, as I said, you catch the moment. Lee, did you notice any bits where Sheffield United were sneaking in? I know Sharp missed a glorious chance. I know we're not going to really spend much time on the defence today, but in terms of the back four, did you see any weak spots? I know Manquillo had a bit of a wobbler.
No, I thought the back four looked all right. I didn't think there was anything major that gave us any worries. Manquillo lost pretty sharp for that header. I mean, let's be honest, Sharp should have buried it. Yeah, they had no pressure on him whatsoever. But I thought Freddie looked strong. I thought the cells looked calm as should. But they weren't ever put under any pressure. Yeah. There was no pressure put on the back four at all. They didn't get it as... I mean, we played further up the pitch in that game than we have all season at St James's Park. Yeah. We did. And when you give them that time and space at the back and you've not got your midfielders and your forwards on top of the back four, it just makes it easier for them.
And Randall, what do you think of Danny Rose today?
Yeah, I mean, first half I thought he wasn't that good, to be honest with you, and I didn't really think he added much to the team. He seemed to be kicking the ball out quite a lot, and there was a few rumbles on Twitter about him, like, is he worth it? Should we buy him and all that? But yeah, I think he kind of redeemed himself in the second half, to be honest. And I don't I think most of the defence did all right today, to be honest with you. I can't really complain about anyone personally, but if there was a weak spot, I probably would have said Danny Rose in the first half, but he did redeem himself.
Yeah, it certainly is that. It's a very easy game to look at. I think it would be a different story if they'd maybe got a few goals. But we'll get on to the assists now. We've mentioned Matt Ritchie there. I know that he made San Maximan's goal, albeit because of Norwood's mistake. But Almiron got an assist today. He put Joe Linton in. He was running riot today at Ketch, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you know what you get from him. Like, if he didn't have the advertising boards, he'd be running out over the park of Leeds. He's just an absolute grafter. I love the way he just gets his head down and sprints for his life, literally like he's running for his life. And the other two have to get inspired by that. I think St. Maximum takes inspiration from the effort that you see from Almiron, and I hope it rubs up on Joe Linton as well. So he's exactly the type of player that our fans will appreciate, and the club needs. The club needs someone to be a nuisance and cover every blade, and that's what he did. And he just needs to add a bit of quality now to the final ball. And if he can add some goals to his game, along with the goals St. Maximum seems to be adding to his game, then that's a frightening front three we might have.
There was a brilliant word I saw to describe St. Maximan, and that was destructive, just before we came on there. And that is the feeling that I had about him. But Lee, do you think that this front trio's finally coming together, this formation, this Joe Linton, Almiron, San Maximan front three thing?
2/3 of it. Two-thirds of it are coming together.
2/3.
I mean, listen, if you're a big centre forward and you've got Almiron on one side, St. Maximan on the other, it's like Christmas. But Joe Linton just doesn't seem to be clicking. He doesn't seem to be reading the play. I'll be honest with you, I think this pair of them are too quick for him. I think he really struggles, because you'll see either one of them get up that flank, and Joe Linton invariably is 10 yards behind. He can't keep up and play with them. And I think that's something that he's really struggling with. Maybe he needs to start in the position to be 10 yards further forward.
I know we've seen Joe Linton get the goal, which makes it very difficult to not have him start the next game. But if you were to have someone in there, Ketch, would you maybe go for someone like Muto, or would you have Carroll causing bother against Villa?
To be honest, I would stick with Joe Linton. I think try and get them gelling, basically. And if it's not happening after an hour, you've got Carroll, you've got Gale. I would probably go with either of those two before thinking about people like Muto, who I see as more of a number 10. But I think Bruce has been loyal to Joe Linton up until this point, so why change it, especially when we're 12th on the table with 38 points. Let Joe Linton try and acclimatise to this league, try and get some confidence up, and try and get some goals.
Yeah, it seems like a good idea, and I'm all for it. The middle two, it was a bit of a strange start for Shelby, as you mentioned in the chat, Ketch, but certainly someone who grew into the game, and someone made a really good point that I saw about Shelby not being influenced to shoot by the crowd at every opportunity, which seems to be his thing. Randall, do you think that Shelby had a good game today?
I thought he played all right. I mean, that free kick that he had was absolutely terrible. But
yes,
yeah, he was, like I said before, there was no bad players today. I thought everyone gelled quite well, and I just expected everyone to be quite rusty because they hadn't played football for a while. But I wouldn't single anybody out, and I wouldn't say he particularly had a good game or a bad game. He just played all right, to be honest.
Yeah. I would like to spend a bit of time now about his other central midfielder, Isaac Hayden, who I've noticed has picked up a lot of plaudits as the afternoon's growing on. We've seen more about the stats, and as I've watched back, there's a man who bossed the midfield. He must have been inspired by the spirit of Chetiote on his birthday to just win every single ball. How good was Hayden today, Lee?
Apart from looking like Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction, I thought it was brilliant.
The hair was outstanding. I love that look. It's like Townsend and him have kind of got a competition.
I mean, he's our water carrier, isn't he? He wins things, he breaks things up, he gives it to Shelby to try his 30-yard, 40-yard passes, but he's omnipresent everywhere. So if you're an opposition midfielder and you've got Hayden up against you, it must be disheartening, because literally if you turn, he's there, he's niggling at you, he's putting his trademark tackles in and whatever. I just thought he was brilliant. He literally, what you call it, won everything there was to win and played it simple and got us up to get us up the park.
Yeah. Do you think Hayden's one of these cult heroes now, Ketch, with Newcastle because of the story behind him wanting to leave Newcastle, and suddenly he's the regular starter each week.
I think so, yeah, especially because he was signed when we were at a bit of a low point as a club, having been relegated, and he's been through the bad times, and he was very honest when he needed to move for personal reasons. That move didn't happen for whatever reason, and it didn't affect his performance. A lot of other players would have sulked and gone through the motions, but he still put in. You're going to get a 7 out of 10 from him every week. And I think he's a massively underrated player. There's a few Arsenal fans at Match of the Day magazine, and I joke with them. We signed him from Arsenal. They should have kept him. Like, he's exactly what they need. Like, they're messing around with players like Xhaka, and just you need a no-nonsense, tidy midfielder who's going to be everywhere and control midfield. That's exactly what Hayden is, and they've let him go, which is beyond irony. So I'm really happy with him, and we've got 4 good midfielders at the club at the minute, and he deserves to start at the minute because he was brilliant today, and he's been brilliant all season.
It's really interesting that you mentioned Xhaka, actually, because he was one that we were possibly going to sign in January. He was the one that everyone was snapping the hand off before we even got the chance. I mean, Bentaleb was on the bench. Do you think that was the right starting two today, Randall?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it paid off all in the end. And like you said, with Hayden especially, I think he's very underrated. And I think if you're an opposition player and you see that you're up against Hayden, you're probably just going to think nothing of it, which is like the beauty of Isaac Hayden, in my opinion. Like he just like does a job, and like nobody thinks anything of him really. But
invisible players that I think Newcastle have got are the likes of Isaac Hayden and Kieran Clark.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he's very underrated, and like Ketch just said, he's what a bigger squad would need, but they wouldn't come in for him because he's not a big name. So
yeah. Lee, I'll come to you first with this question. Who was your star man and why?
I think St. Maximin all there. I genuinely do. I think they just couldn't handle his pace, and every time he gets on the ball, he creates. He puts teams on the back foot. He gets you 20 yards up the park. As soon as he receives the ball, he's looking to drive forwards. And today, he wasn't running down as many blind alleys as we've seen in the past. We've all seen him, trying to take on that extra man too many, or running down a blind alley where he's got no options. But today he made the right choices as well. So for me, St. Maximin all day.
Yeah. Ketch, what about you?
I'll probably give it to Hayden. Just, unsung hero. The sensible foil to Shelby, and he was just everywhere and totally controlled the game against a pretty decent Sheffield United midfield. I thought he really embarrassed Sander Berge, who, he's come over here for big money, huge wages, probably on twice what Hayden's on. Why would you bother when there's a player like Hayden there who's just showing him how it's done? And I'll give it to Hayden, unsung hero. So Maximum obviously gets the spotlight, but I like what Hayden does, and I hope he's got a bit more of that left in him for these final few games. Yeah.
Randall?
Probably give it to Andy Carroll for his mutton chops. No, I'd definitely give it to St. Maximin as well, because I think that goal just changed everything, to be honest with you. He was up and down the wing and he was doing everything, and he had a part in everything basically. So yeah, I'd give it to him.
Yeah, mine was actually Richie. I think that I've kind of warmed towards the St. Maximin argument just because of the way that he was running around the place, but I'm going to stick with it. I'll say Richie was there, and I think in many respects he had no right to be in that team when we went into the break. I think Lazaro is more technically gifted, but to get the goal and an assist as well as play the full 90 minutes, I think that Richie is one of those players that can, we've said it before, grabs the game by the scruff of the neck and can drag Newcastle to it. And I think players like Richie and certainly Lascelles looked like he had the whole team around him today. I think Richie for me, but it's good that we can have that many star players for Newcastle. Normally we're clutching at straws. Let's talk about Bruce, baby, as the song might go. Does Steve Bruce deserve credit here, Ketch?
Yeah, I think I'd give him credit for switching to ditching the 5 at the back. Since we've gone 4 at the back, we've kept 3 clean sheets and look more balanced and being more of a threat and being higher up the pitch, which is something that was annoying me. We were just far too deep, and Joe Linton getting the ball to his feet with his back to goal on the halfway line. It's not going to work. So I'll give him credit for that. Maybe he should have changed it sooner. But yeah, he obviously gets something out of the players, and I think, credit. If you win 3-0 at home against a side chasing Europe, then definitely credit for me.
Yeah. Lee, do you think that, do you feel a bit sorry for Bruce? Are you one of those who feels a bit sorry for him for the respect thing that's been rolling around in the papers?
No, he knew what was on the ticket when he bought it. He did at the start of the season. He knew exactly what he was walking into. There's a thought that basically he shouldn't have even accepted it because he knew what he was coming into. He became complicit with Ashley. So no, I don't have any sympathy for him, but you've got to give it to him. He's done well this season. He's far exceeded what I thought. I was along the lines of the same as you, Decker, where I thought we wouldn't get a win this season. And today I thought his substitutions were spot on. I thought his substitutions were well timed. There was an argument he could have made a change sooner, but once we got that 2-0 cushion, he took the right players off at the right time, saved them for Wednesday. So yeah, no sympathy for the bloke, but he's done well.
Yeah, and Randall, can you just kind of sum up the argument that I think a lot of fans at Newcastle are in agreement with, which is should the takeover go through, why Bruce maybe needs to not be the person to going forward, needs to be the person, but certainly needs to see this season out?
I don't think he's done anything wrong to not see the season out. I feel like if a takeover was to happen, or hopefully is going to happen, then he has the right to finish this season and then for them to evaluate afterwards. Whether or not they're going to want to bring somebody in straight away probably isn't fair on him, but I feel like he's got the right to finish this season and then they'll evaluate if whatever happens.
Do you think that given this game and let's say we go on to have a stormer over the next couple of weeks, do you think that will be a great shop window for Steve Bruce?
Jesus, I don't even know. I mean, it's just like a pipe dream, and this takeover talk's taking so long, and like I don't even know what to think anymore, to be honest. I mean, I can't see Steve Bruce personally going into a transfer window and making like groundbreaking transfers and all this, to be honest with you. But I mean,
we'll talk about Bosmans today, which I saw, which is a thrilling concept for Newcastle. I guess it's the hardest question in the world. Ketch, as a writer, do you feel that there's a bit of a thing to keep Bruce on in the writers' world?
To keep him in the job?
Yeah, I don't know if I've maybe noticed a bit, like a lot more people are saying Bruce deserves a chance. Do you think that that's a common thing?
I think you've just been reading too many of Luke Edwards' tweets. I don't see anyone else hanging the drum for him, to be honest. I think let's be sensible, right? It's an impossible time to bring a new manager in now. It's the last thing you want to do. It looks like we're safe. He sees out the rest of the season, and if by that time the takeover's gone through, and it depends on the ambition of the new owners. If the new owners are serious about making a bid for the Champions League and putting £300 million on the table to spend on players, you don't do that with Steve Bruce, who's never won anything and never managed in Europe. I think even he would recognise that, or as much as he would like to have a go at it. I'm wondering if there's some kind of potential to move Bruce upstairs or put him in a role where he is head of recruitment, something like that, and then bring in a big name manager. I wonder if he would go for that at his age, having been around the houses at different clubs, and that would kind of be like a noble way of him bowing out of his managerial career. He's managed, 20 odd clubs or 15 clubs, so maybe he would take that and be seen as a bit of a hero. And I don't know, that for me would be the sensible thing. If we stayed up and the new owners came in and they were ambitious, you can't really give Steve Bruce the keys to the Porsche.
Yeah, I like that, and I think I mentioned the other day that stewardship was what I would describe it as with Bruce at the minute. He's maybe keeping the seat warm if the takeover goes through, and then it would be nice to think that Steve Bruce maybe had some form of role at the club. Whether, I don't know, could he do coaching and things like that? We're not too sure. Going forward, guys, do you reckon this is safety now, Lee?
Yeah. Looking at that 11 points as gap, I think after today.
With Villa, we're above Everton as well, so.
Yeah, I think if you look at the sides in the bottom three, bottom four, performances they've seen since we restarted, they're not going to make up 11 points. And we'll pick up a win here and there. I fancy us on Wednesday against Villa. A win against Villa, and I think it's a certainty, but I can't see there being any danger going forward.
I will leave this up to you, Randall. Sorry to put the pressure on once again, but with the Villa game, how do you reckon that one's going to go off the back of this?
I can see us winning, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to like jinx it or anything, but
This is the moment.
I'm never confident about Newcastle United, but the way we played today, I just saw the lads. I thought they'd be rusty, but they weren't, and I just see them going out and getting a result, to be honest.
Ketch, do you think that it helped not having the crowd there? Do you think that'll help? Do you think that'll affect us at all this time next week when we're up against City?
I don't know. I wouldn't like to say that as a Newcastle fan. I always like to think teams don't like coming to St James's Park because the atmosphere is going to be, intense. I always like to think that it's a loud place and an intimidating place to players who've never played there. So I think what we've seen in other leagues is that it kind of puts home advantage out of the window, and it's almost like you're playing at a neutral venue. Obviously the players are familiar with the changing room and there's less travelling to do. So I don't know if it's going to suit us or not. Time will tell, but I like to think that Newcastle always play better in a full and loud St James's Park.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to when that comes back. Speaking of the St James's Park, I know you had a quick look at what War Flags would have been like, Ketch, but Lee, do you think that compared to some other teams, what did you make of the decor?
It was like a wet dream for Ashley, isn't it? It is. I mean, some of the other clubs that we've seen have tried to go with a bit of tradition, a bit of history and what have you. There was none of that. With Newcastle. I mean, I would like to have thought that the club had even tried to engage War Flags and just said, look, can we use some of your banners? But I don't know whether they have or not. But it was just like Ashley's wet dream. I thought it was poor, but I didn't expect anything else. Somebody on Twitter mentioned earlier that they expected the banners would tell us how far the takeover was. That was never going to be the case. He still owns the club. It was always going to be decked in Ashley's tat emporiums, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, we are still owned by him, and that's the truth for as far as we can see. I know from my chat that I had with War Flags earlier in the takeover saga, it was that it's nothing unless he's gone. So I think fair play to them. Even if the club maybe had got in touch, I would say that they're perhaps not interested, and they're well within their rights to do that. Yeah. Flirted with the idea of coming back for the cup games, but Thomas, who I spoke to, said, look, it's all or nothing, and you've got to stick to it. So fair play to War Flags. And we mentioned just a little comment just before that putting time and effort into the decor of the stands is one thing, but Newcastle at least made it count on the pitch, which ultimately is all that matters, and that's what people will talk about. As we would with the fan cams, I like to do the important questions. Randall, who had the best hair?
Probably Fabian Schär when he came on. It looked amazing. It had a little bit of curl on it, but yeah, it looked good.
Nice little quiff there. I think it went through stages because we saw Matty Longstaff in the stand, and then it went from him to Ketch, and then like just before the end, it was almost like last ditch attempt from DeAndre Yedlin to come in, and he had this magnificent afro, and I was like, where's he been hiding that? Ketch, I know we mentioned the Carol Burns, but have you got anyone to give the award to?
Well, I thought Matt Ritchie was Emil Kraft for the first part. So Ritchie, I know is actually Noah's barber. He gets his hair cut at Tom Baxter, who I used to play football with. He needs Tom Baxter to open on the Coast Road ASAP to get that fade shaved back in. So fingers crossed, 4th of July, Tom will be there and Ritchie will be first in the queue.
Well, who knows? Maybe this hairstyles of Newcastle United is the source of their strength, and if they go back to the barbers, then it's all gonna fall flat. Matty Longstaff will get his mum to do it, of course, at some point with a ball on the head or something like that. Lads, I think we've covered everything there. It's 3-0. Lee, can you sum it up just as a bit of a game back? How does this feel? Because I mentioned on Twitter there that the lasting effect of this is it seems like such a weight off given the anxiety of the takeover, the feeling of lockdown. How will this last into the next couple of days?
For me, something refreshingly surprising. I expected us to go into there into the game probably one of the most unprepared teams in the league. I have no reason for that. It's what I expect from Newcastle. But in terms of feel good, I genuinely think we'll hear something in the next 48 hours regarding the takeover as well.
In the know here.
No.
Not having that, like.
I just think we've got to that point where there was absolutely no justifiable reason why we weren't here one way or the other. That today, coupled with hopefully good news on that front, sees through to the end of the season. Europe, here we come.
Yeah. Ketch, to take over stuff, do you reckon resolution soon?
Well, there's stuff coming out of Saudi Arabia in the media now a couple of times a day, which is clearly being influenced by the takeover process. There's been a letter sent by the Saudi FA to UEFA and FIFA saying, they're going to work collaboratively over piracy. Bearing in mind, Saudi Arabia have ignored those two bodies, UEFA and FIFA, and the Premier League for years. That's massive as far as I'm concerned. Being now you're working in Saudi Arabia, so there's things happening, but I still think we're a long way away. I think it's a very complicated, complex process. But I think there's the Premier League, now that they've getting pats on the back for bringing the Premier League back and bringing the games back, I think they'll ride that for a little bit, and it's bought them a bit of time. But hopefully it's done before the football's over.
Randall, cans?
To be honest with you, the longer it goes on, the less I'm expecting cans, to be honest with you. But I just feel like it's been going on for ages now, and hopefully something's going to happen soon, but I'm not getting my hopes up just yet.
We'll go for bottles for now, shall we? Just for the time being. Yeah, thanks, lads. Well, that's the first extra time. We've had a good little chat. Let's see what happens next. Villa coming up, and it looks as though Newcastle have taken a massive step forward to safety, which is all we could have asked for. So, cheers for joining us, lads.
Nice one.
And see you next time.